So there's much to be excited about in the area of infrastructure. And I just touch briefly on roads, because we will have our new One Road Authority, which is going to change how we manage and maintain. In the last, or previous administration, or current administration rather, we finally mapped all of the roads in Jamaica, and we now have a database, 27,000 kilometers of road in Jamaica. Knowing that means that we are able to move out of the orphan road situation, where if you're not a farm road within agriculture, if you're not a parochial road if you're not a main road or a secondary road, so defined, without anyone having any single oversight or any single knowledge of which road is where. That's why road infrastructure has fallen into such disrepair. Apart from the disinvestment and underinvestment under the PNP, it is a sheer lack of management of the information and the resources. We have done the work to put that in place, and we're now able to not only proceed with Spark and Reach and Spark 2, but we will have an authority that changes the responsibility of how that's done and makes it more progressive. Similarly, we have the 10-town renovation project, 10 town centers, and we also have the National Sidewalk and Road Crossing, Pedestrian Crossing Program, and that's intended to ensure that our pedestrian crossings and our sidewalks are safe for persons with disabilities, and that they're safe for our elderly and our children. So the appropriate guardrails, appropriate change in texture that helps you know when you're changing location, the appropriate audio elements on crossings, so that persons who are visually impaired will know how and when and where to cross. These are things which will be part of a national program. We're not establishing a separate fund that goes counter to our central management, treasury management programs, or to all of the economic reforms which we've done. What we've done is find strategic ways to build these mechanisms and these programs into the work of ministries, so that they are done in a sustainable manner and more efficiently managing the resources that taxpayers make the government responsible for. Just want to touch a bit on housing. Of course, the Jamaica Labour Party had committed in its last manifesto to 70,000 housing solutions, and we've delivered I think it's about 31,000 between agencies. We know that the NHT has issued 67,000 mortgages and upwards of same, but we have the last figure that I received was 67,000 mortgages over the last administration, which demonstrates that houses are being built and people are buying houses within the private and the public sector. Within the NHT, in our manifesto, we have set out the increased mortgage loan limits, the reduced deposit requirements, the fact that we have expanded the income bands to as low as 0 to 30. The 18,000 band has gone up to 30,000. If you earn $30,000, you can get a mortgage as low as 0%. So you're not paying any interest on your loan, A, and B. You also must recognize that NHT schemes are 100% financed. You can get 100% financing at NHT, which means that the whole concept of a grant is a nonsense. It's a non-issue. And I want to just raise another point about this dream world that the PNP keeps trying to sell people to trick them to give them their vote, when they really have no record on which to depend or to put before the people. And this is the issue of their promise to remove the cost of land from the housing sale price. I want to tell you, they have sold this as the thing that's going to change your access, it's going to change your world, and so many people have bought into it. And I wanted to share with you and ask you to share with anyone if you have not, if they might be thinking that this is their way to own a home. That is just not the case. They're selling you a pipe dream, because the impact of the removal, or rather the portion of land to the as a development price of housing is 3%. 3%. So if you are seeking to buy a $6 million unit, take out a mortgage on a $6 million unit, your monthly saving on your mortgage payment under the PNP plan is going to be $581.70. $581.70. Exactly, maybe 2 patties. If you are buying an $8 million unit, that is you're seeking to take out a mortgage on an $8 million unit, and your savings on your monthly mortgage payment is going to be $621.40. $621.40. If it's a $13 million unit, it's $1,700 and mash. So I'm trying to tell you that they are not changing the game. The $500,000 grant is a non-issue because the NHD schemes are 100% financed. This removing the land cost so you don't have to pay and it's going to become a part of it, it's a non-issue. It's $500, $600 per month that you're going to save. It's not improving access. As Prime Minister keeps repeating, the issue in Jamaica is the amount of housing. We have to build more housing, and that's the problem. And that's why we have been building more housing. Our record is that we have, in our last term, produced 75% more housing starts than the PNP in their last term. And those are facts. I've seen in the paper where there was an article that tried to conflate the data or collate the data in a way that misrepresented the actual production dates and periods and the administrations responsible. And we'll put something more out about that. But be quite clear that the Jamaica Labour Party administration has produced 75% more housing starts in our term than the PNP in its last. So we are producing houses. And in fact, it makes me ask the question, when they promise this 50,000 houses, I wonder if it's because they know that apart from what's out underway in the private sector, in the NHD now, at this point in time, there's just over 50,000, 51,000 houses in different stages of production. That is as between procurement, design, and actual construction. Just over 51,000 houses. So I wonder if they just plan to just take that and move on. If they're claiming that, trying to sneak it into their manifesto. I don't know if that's the case, but we are committed to doing 60,000 more. We have done it before and we'll do it again. It has taken us a little longer. We lost close to 3 years to COVID. We've had some interruptions from disasters, but we have been pressing forward and the work continues in that regard. But please, tell your friends and family who are counting on this 3% to open a new world, or who believe that a grant, a deposit grant, is a 649. They're giving you a 649, and I'm sharing these things with you not only for the particular programs, but for you to understand the level of SAMFI that is being undertaken in this campaign that the PNP is putting forward. I want to just say a little about our land titling program because it's so exciting. 25,000 titles per year from promise to property is what we call this program. And it's building on the new systematic land titling system that we have implemented. We implemented it in 2021. And you would all know about the relatively low number of titles that are issued per year prior to that. We did 12,000 titles under the systematic land titling between 21 and 2025. And we now know how exactly the system works. That was primarily in St. Elizabeth and Manchester. But moving it into more dense urban areas, which is our plan, will allow us to expand more rapidly and to provide more titles. We think we can probably do more, but we know 25,000 will take 25,000 families from promise to property every year, and we look forward to doing that. Together with digitization, the provision of digital titles, so you can actually have your title on your phone. The speed with which they'll be issued, these things are going to revolutionize how it is people are able to monetize their own ownership on land. And again, we think that the PNP has gotten it wrong on land. They're speaking about Crown land and making changes to legislation, but Crown land, which is not the majority of unoccupied lands or occupied lands in Jamaica, it is in fact probably the smallest grouping is maybe around 5,000 parcels, while the government-owned land that we're looking at is more 500,000 parcels of land. Crown land is in more cases than not, either ecologically sensitive, environmentally sensitive, or strategically sensitive for national development purposes. So it's the exact opposite of the land you would want to encourage for development, especially in the circumstances that they're proposing. And in terms of changing the ownership period, it's also, again, wrong-footed in terms of national development. So I leave those few things with you on land and title and housing. Very, very quickly on youth, I want to bring our young people into the loop that we listen to them from urban to rural, from east to west, north to south. We consulted with our young people. They were all very pleased with the fact that we had established the National Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica. I know Minister Williams remembers having that council within her ministry. We actually created it in 2016, and as a model, there are now countries in the world that have established their own based on the Jamaican model. We also re-energize and re-resource the National Youth Parliament, National Youth Local Government, and the National Youth Council. And we have young people who have started on careers in advocacy and in government and nationally and internationally through these mechanisms, because they help them to network, fine-tune skills, and push them into a level of operation that really allows them to play to their highest abilities. So we will continue to strengthen those programs and expand them. I've spoken, of course, already about the new student loan scope, which Minister Williams is very proud of as Minister of Finance. She is responsible for ensuring that they implement. And as of November 1, there will also be the debt reset and the $100,000 credit to students and past students in good standing. So this is, again, just game-changing in terms of leveraging existing resources for the better, while having the dual policy benefit of ensuring the health of the institution and the revolving fund by encouraging payment. So we're very much looking forward to that coming on board together with the expanded scope, which young people had expressly asked for. They said these are the things that hold them back from concentrating on their studies. So in addition to the 14-month moratorium and the 2% reduction with a 2.5 GPA performance. In addition to those, we're also including this additional scope and of course, the debt reset that will allow those who have fallen into some difficult times to come back and pay. I just want to mention one of the other, which is a great suggestion from young people, our national how-to resource hub for young Jamaicans. So a lot of young people just don't know how to navigate life. They don't. Nobody has guided them. They are bright. They are full of potential. There's any number of things that they would want to do if they knew how. And some things you just can't find by Googling. So we're going to help them along. How to find scholarships, how to build entrepreneurial skills, where to get training, how to apply for a TRN, how to get an NIS, what does it mean to have an NIS access. We're trying to bridge the knowledge gap for our young people and help them to navigate life in an empowered and independent way, even as we try to promote and support parenting on the other side of our policies. So I wanted to raise that to you, share that with the public, including our Youth Innovation Hubs 2.0, which are going to be repurposed libraries. We know that our young people are not gravitating to our libraries. They are established infrastructure in which the government has sunk costs, and we want to make them work for our young people, but work differently. Again, leveraging our resources positively, making sure they have great co-working and co-studying places, that they have digital labs for creative entrepreneurs and recreational zones so they can network in a clean and healthy way, and they can build each other up in a good space. So I wanted to share those with you. And very quickly, again, but not with any less interest, I hope, of a manifesto. Our education manifesto has 11 areas of interest. But I want to, and why we have separated education is that we feel that in the very same way that we had an oversight measurement and model that helped with transformation of the economy, We achieve things that could never have been thought to be done in the economy through ensuring that we have a measurement and oversight mechanism. We have done the same with security through the National Security Council, ensuring that we again have oversight, monitoring, and ensuring that implementation decision to present this separately. And I want to use the Education Manifesto to share something else with you. I want to introduce you and just take you very quickly to our website once more. Can you take us? Before you go there, just let's scroll down and show the broken out manifesto. Just scroll down for me. Are you able to? Yeah. So we have our books you can download into a map, and of course our good news chart. You can just keep, right? When you click on the manifestos, you see our books, but then you also get to this segment. And those are flip books, by the way. That's where you find all the accessibility features. So if you're colorblind, otherwise visually impaired, if you're, you have difficulties reading with dyslexia, it also has a dyslexia corrective algorithm that will help you. And so we really encourage people to use these, even though they're digital. They are easier for many people to read than a physical book because they have these facilities. But if you can just go back down, we know that sometimes information can be overwhelming. So we've actually broken out our choose what works for you section. So under the economy for your future, we actually have each chapter of the manifesto broken out. So you can choose speed, you can choose better economic growth and strong management and stronger growth. You can choose any chapter that you want to read in under these segments. Your information, your infrastructure, your foundation, you'll find all the infrastructure in there, housing, water, cleaner, cheaper electricity, better roads and bridges. You'll find the cleaner, greener, more beautiful Jamaica also in there, which is where we deal with the environment, where we deal with our waste to energy, etc. All of that is in there. Your society, your well-being. We have our social chapters. So your safe and secure Jamaica, our efficient and equitable justice system, human rights and dignity for all, and of course transforming education, which is a replication of our manifesto. We had to have one cohesive document, and our purpose-driven youth. And then on the governance, your voice, we have of course the better, stronger, better, fairer governance, constitutional reform, and foreign affairs and foreign trade. So I just want you to see the layout so you have a sense of how we tried to meet our promise, as we said, that we will help you engage with the material in a way that you can best navigate it, you can most easily digest it, and we hope that this will help. So taking things to another level now, we want to introduce you to Bella. We want to introduce you to Bella. Bella is JLP's AI assistant, and Bella is fully trained on the party's achievements and our manifesto commitments. She's also trained on our candidates, so you can find out who our candidate is. And Bella, you have to log in, so because this is an AI tool, and you have to prevent abuse and malicious persons from seeking to cause issues. So you have to log into Bella. But of course, we have all our data protection mechanisms and our all our legal rights and privacy rights provisos on the website as are needed. Do you want me to use my laptop? Okay. So the same OTP system that you use when you're doing your C5 form to return to Jamaica, where you just put in your email address, you get an OTP and you put it in so it verifies that you are a human user. This is what we will use for Bella to make sure. So you're not actually registering to create an account, but you are registering as a one-time user. The timing is limited to 10 minutes because I don't know if you know about these things, but there's actually a cost per minute for AI, for voice-generated AI tools. So we've had to manage that as well. So we want you to, Okay, to see and hear what happens with Bella. You click on Bella.
I'm Bella.
You click on Bella. Are you going to click on Bella with me? Okay, all right. So you click on her. I click on Start
Hi,
Conversation.
I'm here to help you with any questions you have about the Jamaica Labour Party, whether it's our achievements, manifesto, candidates, or anything else you'd like to know.
All right. So Bella, tell me what are the Jamaica Labour Party manifesto plans for education?
We are committed to advancing the transformation of education for all our children and teachers in partnership with parents and all education stakeholders. Our plans include ensuring every Jamaican child becomes a confident reader and problem solver through daily reading instruction and specialist coaches. We will also establish 28 Brain Builder Centers for early childhood development and create a more inclusive classroom environment by fully operating special needs diagnostic centers and providing enhanced inclusive training for educators. Furthermore, we are addressing the unique challenges faced by our boys in the school system by implementing a national boys education strategy, which includes mentorship programs and a more relevant curriculum. We are also accelerating the digital transformation of our classrooms with initiatives like the Jamaica Learning Assistant Platform and Smart Classrooms. Our focus also extends to creating a secure and healthy learning environment through the full implementation of the nutrition policy and anti-bullying campaigns. We are preparing students for a prosperous future by strengthening science, technology, engineering, arts, and math STEAM education, including establishing STEAM clubs and building 6 new STEAM schools. We also support our educators through initiatives like the Staff Room, Transformation Initiative, and AI tools for teachers. And we aim to further integrate parents into the development of our country through restructured parenting support and enhanced curricula. Is there anything else I can assist you with related to the Jamaica Labour Party's work?
Thanks, Bella. I'm going to invite one of our journalists to just ask any question they might want, but they have to come up so that you'll hear them on the mic. Any volunteer to just ask Bella a question? She has to hear you on the mic.
There are no volunteers. I may just have to volunteer someone.
Come and ask, man.
Mr. Campbell, you sure you can come up with a question so kindly?
Nobody wants to ask Bella, and she's so awesome.
We know that our content output in terms of Minister Johnson Smith's...
Be the guinea pig. Sure, just ask Bella.
Bella, can I get some information regarding the JLP's plans for healthcare, particularly for senior citizens?
We are deeply committed to ensuring the well-being of our senior citizens. We will launch the National Health Insurance Plan for Seniors, which aims to expand access to health services for Jamaica's over 60 population. The initial phase of this plan will target 400,000 seniors covering 10 chronic illnesses as we continue our work towards universal health coverage. Additionally, we are developing a comprehensive health program for older persons. The objectives of this plan include maximizing the period in which older persons maintain good health, wellness, and functional independence through the promotion of healthy aging. We also aim to build the capacity of at least 90% of healthcare practitioners in primary care to identify and manage healthcare needs in older adults and provide allied health and rehabilitative services to older persons with complex health and disability needs. Is there anything else I can assist you with related to the Jamaica Labour Party's work?
Thank you, Bella. Unless I have another volunteer. Oh, I see another volunteer.
I'm ready for the next question.
I know.
Bella. Okay, what role do you see the deaf community playing in the party's electoral strategy?
That's interesting.
I am still reviewing the JLP data to ensure I have complete answers. Thank you for your patience as I work to provide more insights soon.
Okay, Miss Bella. She's thinking, she's researching.
My focus is on sharing information regarding the Jamaica Labour Party's policies and accomplishments. Could you please clarify your question so I can provide the most accurate information or perhaps ask about another area of our work?
maybe you could ask about persons with disabilities and see if it will.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Please let me know if you have any more questions. Or
In relation to persons with disabilities on a whole, how will you provide for them in the next upcoming term?
we are deeply committed to ensuring the full inclusion and empowerment of persons with disabilities. We have significantly advanced their rights by bringing the Disabilities Act into effect and establishing the Disabilities Rights Tribunal, which serves as a formal mechanism for safeguarding their rights to education, employment, accessibility, and public services. To further support this, we have expanded the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, JCPD, and launched an accessibility checklist to speed up the provision of accessible spaces. We also launched the I Am Able MIJCPD app to streamline services and expand access to jobs, scholarships, and training opportunities for persons with disabilities. Additionally, we will continue to emphasize providing job opportunities for persons with disabilities through initiatives like the National Skills Bank and designate a portion of new agro-parklands for them under the Feeding the Economy through Empowerment and Development Program. Is there anything else I can assist you with related to the Jamaica Labour Party's work?
Boy, Bella, I think we need to make you rest now. Or more importantly, we need to move to Minister Williams. But I think you can share in our excitement in this new tool and know that the Jamaica Labour Party was 100% serious when we said we wanted to share information with you in new and innovative ways in which, sorry, Bella, let me just end this conversation before she asks me more questions. There we go. Right. That we want people to engage differently, and we also want to, again, start to move out of this space where we say manifestos, nobody don't business with no manifesto, nobody don't read no manifesto, people are not interested. This is why we launched in a different way at a mass meeting, so more people could actually be engaged, because it's not fair to a population to say that nobody's interested in a manifesto if you have never taken it to them, and in a way in which they might be interested. And similarly, if people have different accessibility issues and concerns, if you've never brought those features to your website, then you really can't criticize people for not engaging. And similarly, if you have innovative tools like Bella, then you really can tap into another level of youth interest and innovative interest for persons who might not even be so interested in the information as the tool, and that's how you you broaden the base of people who are interested in the political process. So again, welcome to our manifesto, to our achievements, to our website, as we continue to do more for you, and we seek to demonstrate that you can trust us when we say that we will do what we say we will do. Thank you very much.
All right, so let me thank Kamina Johnson-Smith for that instructive and enlightening presentation, taking us through a number of the commitments we have set out in our manifesto and what we're committing to do as we do more for you, the people of Jamaica, in a third successive term of the Jamaica Labour Party administration. Insofar as being modern, sleek, and innovative, it is quite evident when you consider what's set out in our manifesto and the AI enablement and the technologies that we're incorporating, that indeed the JLP is the standard. At this time, I'm going to hand over to our Minister of Finance and the Public Service, the Honorable Favour Williams, to take us through her remarks at this afternoon's presser, and thereafter we will open up the floor, ladies and gentlemen, for your questions. Over to you, Minister Williams.
Thank you so much, Marlon. Good afternoon, everyone. So you would have seen the debate last night, focused on the economy between the team, JLP, and those persons from the PNP. Additionally, you would know that last Sunday night, after their manifesto was done and dusted, the PNP that is, they launched their 3.5. Listening to the spokesman last night, it was obvious that there was not much thought as to how they were going to pay for this. And in considering what they put out, you could see that if they go ahead with that 3.5, with increasing the threshold to 3.5 in the time frame in which they said they were going to do it, that it would cause significant damage to the budget. The PNP's promise to raise the tax threshold to 3.5 million is nothing but a desperate election scam to get votes. They are proposing to begin it on April 1, 2026. Economists and others have indicated that it would cost anywhere from 75 to 80 billion every year. Again, if they seek to do it anytime soon, it would bust the budget and it would destroy the hard work and collective sacrifice of every Jamaican over the years. It would be taking us back to massive taxation, public sector wage freeze, and increased borrowing, which would lead to high and unsustainable debt. Many Jamaicans can recall the nausea that they feel in their stomach as budget season rolls around under the PNP government. Contrast this with that of the JLP. Jamaicans really look forward to our budget presentation because they know that we are coming with plans to benefit them, increase in the income tax threshold in the history of Jamaica. And then we did not stop there. We have outlined a fiscally responsible path to 2.0. Already we are at 1.8. I want to emphasize that we will not be stopping there when we get to 2.0. We will continue to increase the income tax threshold even while we reduce the base income tax rate. If you recall, under the PNP, up to 2016, when we took office, the threshold was $592,000. It was so low that it was not even in the consciousness of Jamaicans. We brought the benefit of an increased threshold to the consciousness of Jamaicans. And we're doing the increase in the threshold at the same time the reduction in the base tax rate. As committed in our manifesto, a Jamaica Labour Party government in the third term will reduce the base income tax threshold from the existing 25% ultimately to 15%, doing so in a fair, phased, and disciplined approach. We will be fiscally responsible. And now I want to compare a chart that shows what the PNP's plan looks like versus ours. In the first line, you will see the 3.5 million threshold compared with our 15% base rate and our seniors. The overall cost of theirs, 25 to 80 billion, ours 75, no, theirs is 75 to 80 billion, and ours will be 28 to 44 billion when we roll in the seniors. And the 44 billion is us just being overly conservative. The phasing of theirs, there's none proposed. They would make the Jamaican voters think that it's going to be in year one. And in fact, I have seen on social media where people have already calculated how much they are going to get, and they've put it out there with
That's a
the
farce.
picture, yes, of what it is that they're going to buy with it. But it is impossible
Farce.
to be implemented in the first year. It would cause so much damage that we would be back to where we were 10, 15 years ago. So we looked at different options to finance this. Financing through growth is what the PNP is saying that they will do. So if you take a look at where our annual GDP is currently, it's about 3.2 trillion. 1% of that would be 32 billion. Estimated tax to GDP in terms of when you measure your revenue intake relative to your GDP, we stand at about 28%. So the estimated additional tax revenues from 1% GDP growth would be about 9 billion. To get to 75 to 80 billion would require GDP growth of 8.5% to 9%. Let that sink in. 8.5% to 9% in order to implement this in 1 year. Compare that to ours. At the top end, it would require 1.4% of additional GDP growth. And I have to say, let me pause here to say, when you look at our manifesto, the growth initiatives that are in there will get us beyond that 1.4% if that's how we choose to do it. The second option, if you're not financing through growth, would be financing through increase in other taxes. The budgeted tax revenue for 2026-27 is about $1 trillion. Percentage increase in tax revenue required to finance the proposal would be 8%. For ours, it would be 1.3%. If it's through the third option, financing through expenditure cuts, and we are not proposing that, but we're just laying out the options and what it would look like. Wages and salaries would have to take a cut. Debt service would have to take a cut. Programs would have to take a cut. The percentage cut required in programs would be about 18 to 19%. In our column, it would be about 3%, but we're not advocating that, obviously. I know that the spokesman has been saying, or several of the various representatives in the PNP, they have been talking about reordering what they're calling discretionary, and the discretionary funds, and they trot out that is about $360 billion. I keep reminding them that in what they are calling discretionary are programs that continue year after year. And so I've listed some examples of what's in that $360 billion. It's the Spark program. Would they be cutting that? That's focused on giving us better roads, more durable roads. Would they cut the PATH program? Would they cut social pension? Would they do away with the short-term poverty intervention program? How about the need-based tuition assistance and scholarships? poor relief assistance, assistance to infirmaries, subvention to tertiary, that's 25.7 billion. Pharmaceuticals and medical supplies, almost 20 billion. For the judiciary, 12.6. Subvention to University Hospital of the West Indies, another 12.6. JUTC and Montego Bay Metro, they do get a healthy subvention, 11 billion. GOJ Health Insurance, 8.2, and so on. So you can see we have done our analysis. You have seen the experience of this Jamaica Labour Party government in government. You have seen that we have been fiscally responsible. We are the government that has delivered no new taxes for 9 consecutive years. We are the government that stayed within the fiscal guidelines. We are the government that took debt almost approaching 130% of GDP, and where we are now, 60% is within sight. 60% debt to GDP is within sight. We are the government that has delivered 33 quarters of growth, positive growth, interrupted only by the global pandemic and a significant hurricane last year and a weather event, Raphael. But what you will note as well, that we are the government that has put in place buffers, financial buffers, to help us through shocks. Prime example, last year with Hurricane Beryl, many of our schools were devastated. Infrastructure was just torn up. And within 8 weeks, we were able to find the resource to repair schools, and our schools opened as if we never had a Category 5 hurricane, because we took steps not only to create the policy on how we finance disaster, but to take the time and effort to actually get the financing behind us, so that whenever events of that nature happen, we know exactly what is available to us to help us to get back up and running. And you saw how quickly we were able to recover from these events. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be doing the increase in the threshold, and at the same time do the reduction in the base tax rate. As committed in our manifesto, a Jamaica Labour Party government in the third term will reduce the base income tax threshold from the existing 25% ultimately to 15%. But again, let me stress, we will be doing so in a fair, phased, and disciplined way, because we believe in fiscal responsibility, and you have seen us year after year after year. We've demonstrated that we are a responsible government. Just to close, I want to say again, based on the pronouncements of the PNP, it is obvious to us that the PNP is desperate for political power and is just going for broke at this point. They're literally throwing in the kitchen sink at the election. We don't have that propensity. We know we have to manage the economy in regards to the overall fiscal program, we know the Jamaican people are depending on us. They have come to know us as a responsible government, and that is our commitment to them going forward, continuing into a third term. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Let me thank Minister Williams for having taken us through in such clear and great detail. Ladies and gentlemen, just before I open the floor for your questions, I must proffer an apology for our campaign director, Dr. Tufton, who had to slip out a bit earlier, having regard to a prior commitment over in his St. Catherine West Central constituency. Now, could you kindly, as we open the floor for questions, indicate your name and media house as we facilitate a few questions and close out this afternoon's media briefing?
Good afternoon. Siobhan Campbell, Nationwide News. I have a few, but I'll just ask one to give my fellow journalists an opportunity. The People's National Party has suggested that they will utilize the increase in revenues over the next 3 years to fund that proposal. During the debate, you said that is an unreasonable expectation, but you were not allowed to finish your contribution. So I ask you here, what, based on the fiscal policy paper, would limit the People's National Party's ability to fulfill that $3.5 million threshold?
All right, thinking back, I did answer, you probably didn't hear, but when you look at the fiscal policy paper, if you just focus on the revenues, then you're going to make a mistake because there are expenses as well, and those are growing. Every year, we have to pay additional wage to the public sector workers based on whatever contract it is that we would have signed with them. Goods and services increase annually as well. So just to look at the revenues and say, oh yeah, revenues are growing, without considering that the expenditure is growing as well, is to show you that their understanding is lacking in terms of the budget.
And without detaining or belaboring the point, but just to be clear though, there is one aspect of the equation that you will not hear the PNP, volunteering or being keen on reminding the people of, all in an attempt to continue to keep up a pretense and hoodwink the electorate. And that is, it is this same set of people who are proposing to discontinue the $11.4 billion support from the National Housing Trust, in addition to the suite of other goodies they are proposing in their campaign and election wish lists in terms of the respective funds here and there. All those things taken together on top of this ludicrous and extreme 3.5 income tax threshold proposal will essentially, as Minister Williams has said, take us to a point of fiscal, concern and fiscal ruin, essentially returning us to the days that we have fought long and hard to come away from, the days of wage freeze, increased taxes, and of course the accumulation of high and unsustainable debt. We have come too far to imperil the fiscal program of Enterprise Jamaica. We simply cannot go back there. We're fielding another question.
Good afternoon. All right, I'm Giselle Mills, CVM TV. On the path of education, what updates can you give us about the developments regarding wage negotiations for the teachers?
Okay. As indicated last night, wage negotiations take time. We go through several rounds. Recently, you would have heard that we asked of the National Partnership Council, and we had a meeting. JTA President was in the room as well. That is ongoing. The Prime Minister would have indicated as well that we are not an unreasonable government, and that together with our union partners on behalf of the public sector workers, that we will arrive at an agreement that will be satisfactory to our public sector workers, but also not only to the public sector workers, but that will be in the interest of Jamaica because, as you know, we do operate within a budget, but we are firmly committed to getting to that point.
Thank you, Minister Williams.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Morgan. Good afternoon, ministers. In relation to the conflict of housing developments, I know that there were 70,000 that's intended to be built in collaboration with the NHT. But in terms of those who were promised houses by other parties, how will they be affected both negatively and positively during this development?
Sorry, what development?
The
If you
housing
could- if you can-
development in relation to those that are supposed to be built by the 70,000, supposed to be built by, promised by the party in collaboration with the NHT, how will those that were promised houses by the other parties be affected, both negatively or positively?
Well, I know that the homes that NHT builds, whether it is with their own contractors or others, they are for persons who contribute to NHT. And maybe I'm just not quite understanding everything that you're asking for, but houses through NHT are for contributors. I don't know, Marlon, you want anything
Indeed,
to add?
and of
Because
course,
I'm not-
and as you can appreciate, ma'am, there are other windows as well that build out and provide support in relation to the build out of housing stock up and down the country. I speak of course, the Housing Agency of Jamaica, and in terms of support to the more needy and vulnerable among us, you may be aware of the Poor Reliefs Facility in relation to vulnerable Jamaicans, which is essentially not dissimilar to the intervention that the Prime Minister spearheads, that being the new social housing program, which in this past iteration of government has delivered just about 300 housing solutions, concrete, dignified houses to needy and deserving Jamaicans. And of course, our firm commitment is that in a third term of a Andrew Holness-led Jamaica Labour Party government, will be upscaling that to respond even more adequately to the needs of vulnerable Jamaicans in relation to housing solutions. That's what we do, and that's our commitment as a caring government.
70,000 housing starts.
All right.
Okay.
I
Marla,
suspect,
before
Mr.
you-
I just wanted to clarify that I think there's 70,000 wasn't NHD specific, it's 70,000
NHD,
housing
HAJ.
solutions.
Yeah.
So it's across the piece of, it would have included HAJ and the social and other related housing projects.
And while we're talking about housing, an exciting commitment that we have in the manifesto is, and I know Senator Johnson Smith gave it a real nice, catchy name, roof repair.
The National Roof Repair and Room Completion
Program.
Home Assistance Program.
Yes, all of us as members of Parliament,
True.
in our constituencies, we have persons who are just not able to have a proper roof over their heads that we would love to help. Additionally, many times as we walk through our constituencies, there are persons with unfinished rooms that they started maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago. Yes, they ask for what they call a building stamp, and they may get it, and it allows them to buy additional blocks, steel, cement, and so on, and they put up a few more rows of blocks, but they would love to finish it, but somehow, they don't have all the resources to do so. This government is going to ensure that across Jamaica, in every constituency, obviously properly identified through the SDC and the Member of Parliament, that we begin a significant program to help persons repair their roofs so that when it rains, they don't have to set a bucket to catch water. If there's a storm or hurricane on the horizon, they can have some surety about their roof, and we're going to help them to finish that room that grass is growing all over, a tree might be growing in the middle of it. We are going to help persons to finish that room that they started 10, 15, or maybe even 5 years ago. It is our plan, it is our commitment.
And it is entirely in keeping with doing more for you, the people of Jamaica. Next question, as we seek to wind down.
Marlon, Dwayne Anderson from TVG. I can appreciate the rush because there's campaign going on, but the debate last evening, I don't believe got the opportunity to touch on a couple of things which I just want to use this opportunity to ask. Inflation, for one. I just want to know how your plans, the JLP's plans, and even by extension, the PNP's tax plans will impact on inflation, given that hundreds of thousands of more people will have lots more money to spend and goods. Well, you appreciate how inflation works. What are your concerns about that?
So just to be clear, Dwayne, and you will appreciate that this administration, certainly in the last iteration, has brought to the fore the independent central bank. So the Bank of Jamaica, which is now primarily tasked with not just managing and treating with issues concerning money supply, but is concerned, of course, with issues concerning interest rates and, importantly, inflation containment. You know, the targeted band at present is 4 to 6%, and we are very seized of the fact that considerable liquidity in the marketplace may be associated with increased or inflationary pressures. And those things taken together, it's for that reason why we are committed as an administration in our third term to effect the adjustments we're effecting in a phased, fair, and fiscally disciplined way, because those things have to be considered as well, because you do not want to come to the market or come to the country with fiscal responses, meaning government spending responses that end up being deleterious or counterproductive. So we're very seized of that. You have entered a very important consideration and concern into the public discourse, and that is something we would commend to analysts, pundits, and the Jamaican people generally as well, because this almost run with it like 3.5% increase in the threshold would essentially be taking Jamaica, were they to seek to do it and to tax and do it, would take Jamaica into a malady and a cycle, as it were, of counterproductive developments.
Well, let me add to that as well, Marlon, that you only get inflation if the amount of goods and services remain constant. Of course, those who manufacture goods are going to manufacture more in response to in response to the demand. You know, we are putting in capacity into industries like agriculture. A lot of persons, you know, when we had the hurricane and prices went up, a lot of complaints. We've seen those prices moderate now, but to be more sustainable in areas like agriculture, Minister Green would have announced massive irrigation program, a massive greenhouse program as well, and on top of that, putting in cold storage. So I'm just saying we're building out, whether it's government or private sector, capacity in the various industries in Jamaica to provide more for our citizens. So we should not be fearful that in giving our citizens benefits, that it's going to have a negative impact through inflation. No, because we have an economy in which private sector entities respond to the changes in demand in terms of increasing capacity of the goods and service that they provide.
Just finally from me, you've put forward your costing for the income tax rate reduction, but I still would like a timeline explanation in terms of what you expect to do on 2026, 2027, 2027, 2028, etc., as to the implementation of that income tax reduction.
So as you'll appreciate, Siobhan, what we have come to the Jamaican people with is our manifesto, or I Choose Jamaica, the Next Chapter Manifesto, which essentially sets out and contains broad policy commitments, broad undertakings. Just to be very clear, in relation to the reduction ultimately in the base rate associated with income tax from the existing 25% to the 15% that we envisage getting to. Ultimately, we are undertaking to do that in a fair, phased, and fiscally responsible way. In other words, in a disciplined way, not dissimilar to how we, having taken office in March of 2016, managed to effect the upward adjustment in the income tax threshold from the then $592,000 to $1 million in the first instance. Then after that, in April of 2017, 1.5, that very coveted and, noted 1.5, and we didn't stop there. We have since gone on to increase the personal income tax threshold, as you may appreciate, to 1.7. Then this past April, it got to 1.8, so the current threshold is at 1.8. Come April 2026, it will go to 1.9, and for the benefit of listeners and viewers, by the time we get to April 2027, it will go to $2 million. And of course, having regard to the capacity and the propensity we have been exhibiting to upwardly adjust the income tax threshold, you can rest assured that it will go over time above the 2 million that we are scheduled or on course to get to by the start of financial year 2027-2028.
I have one last quick one, so just please indulge me. I remember very well Arlie Shaw, when he was finance minister, would often be very critical of the PNP at the time, where the dollar is winding and grinding. And I know this particular administration prides itself on the stability of the Jamaican dollar. It has long since crossed 160. Are you satisfied, Minister, with the efforts being made to stabilize the dollar, especially given the implications for, the cost of goods?
All right. I know that there's a focus on the figure, but you should also look at the rate at which it moves. And under a Jamaica Labour Party government, it has moved slower than under the PNP. And the numbers are out there for you to take a look at. We operate a foreign exchange market that is open. Anyone needing foreign exchange generally can get it, unlike other countries and several that we know in which you cannot find foreign exchange. So we are very comfortable with the overall management of the market by the Bank of Jamaica and the access that it grants to not only businesses but ordinary Jamaicans. We are at the highest level in our net international reserves. Just recently, when the governor made the quarterly report, it was over 6 billion. It was over 6 billion. We've never been to these levels before. So, we're happy with how things are developing.
And all right, well, one last one as we wrap
Not really
up.
a question, but just quick clarity. We've referenced the base rate of income tax at 25%. But what would happen to the 30% rate charged at 6 million and up? How would the proposal impact that rate? Would that remain unchanged?
That rate would still be there because remember, we're adding more progressivity to our tax affairs, right?
All right, thank you, Siobhan. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, colleague from CVM. And those of you who have joined us online, you can rest assured that the Jamaica Labour Party will continue to be faithful and diligent stewards, the Jamaica Labour Party government, that is, of the nation's finances. And even as we are in the throes of this campaign, our proposals, indeed our solid commitments, are being, made in a way that are responsible and in keeping with preserving and advancing the interests of Jamaica, and of course preserving the hard-fought economic gains that we have all secured over the past few years, certainly the past 10 to 15 years. And that's why we're pleased to be making more of the dividends of the economic management and our stewardship thereof more available to you, the people of Jamaica. That brings us to the end of this press briefing. Let me thank you all online for joining us, and for those of you here, thank you all as well.
Thank you.